Clinical conversations on today's Smart Chiropractor show. We are revisiting an Axis 2021 presentation. What was Axis 2021? It was our clinical conference that happened online in 2021. We brought together some of the leading experts in and around chiropractic to talk about their areas of expertise and directly focused on improving clinical skills. Big questions are, who presented? Well, we've been touching upon these each and every week on the Smart Chiropractor Show. And is it going to happen in the future? The answer is absolutely yes. So stay tuned as we release details in the coming months for Axis 2022. Today's Smart Chiropractor Show, we're going to look at Dr. Josh Satterlee's talk, and it was all around managing athletes through progression and regression. And we've sort of been piecing these out a little bit. We've been doing little 10 to 15 minute clips, so you may have saw the beginning of Josh's presentation. We're going to continue it today with how you can appropriately and accurately manage athletes through progression and regression in your practice. And without further ado, let's head over and check out a clip from Axis 2021 with Dr. Josh Satterlee.
Okay. So what do we do next? Well, now, once we have our buckets, we got to start organizing all of our exercises in there. And so this is what I would call the Instagram challenge. There are so many exercises on Instagram. It's fantastic, but we want to just make sure we know what bucket they end up in. So when we have a patient or an athlete who needs an exercise in that bucket, we can easily select the exercise out of there and know, is one exercise easier or harder than the other? So we're going to organize. So I just grabbed a clip from Eric Cressy and his Cressy Sports Performance down in Massachusetts. And here's a baseball pitcher doing a lateral lunge to one arm cable row, right? And the right leg on this athlete is moving. It's moving to the right, and he does a lateral lunge. Now, so what buckets does this fill? Well, definitely it's a one-arm row, so we're going to get that horizontal pull. I think we're also getting the anti-rotation bucket, and I think we're also getting that lateral squat bucket. Now, in my version, I don't put lateral squats any different than regular squats. But if you work in a population that moves laterally a lot, or you want to create some more power in that, then adding that 11th bucket of lateral squats will do it. In my world, I would say this is just one of many squats we do. So I'm just going to put it in the squat bucket, the horizontal row bucket, and maybe some rotation bucket. Of all of those, I think it challenges the squatting pattern the most, and then the horizontal row the second, and then rotation the third. I don't think it's going to be that challenging of a rotational exercise, but I think it's fantastic that it can go in all three buckets. You can decide where you want to do this. And if you're looking for exercises, I think Instagram and Facebook are great. The only challenge I would say is when you see an exercise, in your mind, start saying, what bucket does this belong in? Or what buckets does this belong in? So some great people to follow. Eric Cressy, you just saw, Tony Gentlecore, Ben Bruno. Ben Bruno is a fantastic trainer, but he's even funnier than he is great at training. And I follow him just for the humor. Mike Boyle of Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning, I think, is fantastic. And my TPI, which is the Titleist Performance Institute, all of these accounts post up some really great social media that shows exercises demonstrating and will show you regressions and progressions. And typically I find that these 5 groups also describe why it's more regressed or progressed. So as you're trying to build your exercise library, I would say look up these people. And then you can also go through YouTube. And if you're just looking for knee exercises, you can put like squat pattern, lunge pattern, lateral lunge pattern, things like that in the YouTube search, and you'll just get tons of exercise. But it's super important. Don't just grab the exercises, organize them into the right order to serve your clients. Now, how did I start this off? I learned how to organize in the SFMA, and I can't say enough great things about the SFMA. It's awesome. That's why I teach it. It totally changed my clinical life. But let me tell you an organizational structure that SFMA brought to light, and it's called the 4x4 matrix. So the basis of it is that there are 4 postures that we do rehab and exercise in, and there are 4 loading strategies that we do when we do those rehab postures or even exercise postures. So the 4 postures are lying down, quadruped, aka on your hands and knees, kneeling, and you can do tall kneeling on both knees or half kneeling where you're on one knee and the other foot, and then standing, right? And so as you walk around the gym and you look on Instagram and Facebook, it's always fun to see like, hey, where do I see a lot of exercises? I would just tell you this, just based on postures, most trainers do not know how to regress an exercise because they go They usually do a standing exercise, and then if things go wrong, they try and lighten the load as much as possible. Oftentimes things don't change, and they go right down to lying. And I think it's that step-by-step pattern that really releases the secret sauce of rehab and exercise. So if they can't do an exercise standing, we go to kneeling. If they still can't do it, we regress to quadruped. If they still can't do it, we do it lying. So if you can't do a deadlift standing up because you get back pain, I would have that athlete kneel down on both knees and try a hip hinging pattern. It's going to teach a better motor pattern because they can't cheat with their ankles anymore or even their knees. It all has to be hip driven. If they still can't do that, maybe you put them on their hands and knees. And all we're looking for is hip flexion. So I'm just going to have them hands and knees and go into like a child's pose in yoga. That's going to help get a lot of hip excursion. If they still can't do that, maybe I'll lie them down prone on their stomach and just ask them, can you even extend your hip? Do you understand what I'm saying when I do that? So some active hip extension, and then lie them on their back and do some active hip flexion, just to isolate things and give them a fully supported spine. Now, how do we load the pattern? Okay, so the first setup is unloaded with assistance. All right, unloaded with assistance. Then we go to an unloaded exercise, or what we would call just body weight. Then we go to loaded with assistance. And then finally, loaded. Now, if you think about most exercise, they can be done in every posture can be done in these 4 loading strategies. So standing, you could do an unloaded hip hinge, no weight at all, right? And then you can load that hip hinge, and we call that deadlift, right? In the middle, we can do a loaded deadlift with an assisted device. And assistance could be a cue. It could be a band that reminds you to keep your knees out. It could be a target to go to. It could be a lot of things, but we just have some assistive device or cue. And then we can take that all the way up to unloaded with assistance. So typically the hardest one for most people I found to kind of dive into is unloaded and going to unloaded with assist. But you know what? You've already seen that. Okay. So let me first go over the postures. So here, this is a glute bridge. Person started out lying on his back. So that was a lying exercise for hip extension. Then we go to a quadruped exercise, and it looks like a bird dog almost because he's in all fours, and then he extends the right hip. Then finally, we can go to kneeling. And if he just shifts his body weight forward, he's going to go into hip extension of this right hip and hopefully some retraction of that posterior chain and glute, right? And then finally, we can have him stand and learn how to do a hip hinge pattern by just pushing his butt back and forward. Those can all be the 4 postures of the hip hinge. So our bucket here is hip hinge, and these are the 4 postures: lying, quadruped, kneeling, and standing. Now, what about loading it? Remember I said that you've already seen an unloaded version? This is an unloaded split squat. She's just using her own body weight, but we don't consider that a load because you have to carry it around every day. Now, how would you go to an unloaded with assistance? Well, you know what? We already saw that too. And that's just adding the assistance of the TRX in this case. Maybe it takes off load. Maybe it allows better balance. There's a lot of ways it can assist us, but in the end, this is an unloaded pattern with an assistance. So it's kind of easy. I think you can figure out how to load the pattern on your own. I got an idea that you know how to do that. But if he drops one of these handles and puts a kettlebell there, we've now moved into our 3rd loading strategy with his loaded, aka the kettlebell, with an assistive device, in this case, the TRX. So I hope you can see that progression and help organize. So that's unloaded, and then we can progress that easily to loaded. That's not difficult to do, and this would be in the standing posture. One suggestion: once you have all these organized and you know which exercise you're going to use, I would highly recommend filming yourself doing every exercise. It's going to do 2 things. Number one, you're going to end up with a fantastic YouTube channel where it seems like you know a ton about exercise just because you've done a ton of them that you've seen. Second thing is you're going to feel how hard an exercise is. And I will tell you that when you learn progressions and regressions, you will be shocked at how certain exercises are so difficult and they don't look like anything. And you'll be shocked at how some look super difficult and are actually pretty easy. So I'd highly recommend you doing them before you give them to patients. All right, next step, the 3rd step, we got to prune. And why do we prune? Well, we use exercises that maybe don't fit our space, our population, and whatnot. We have to prune things. So here's Ben Bruno. I highly recommend following him on Facebook. And he's working with Kate Upton, who's a supermodel. One thing he had to do to prune exercise, he loves doing heavy landmine exercise. So here she's doing a single leg RDL with a pretty loaded barbell there. It's pretty impressive, right? He's pruned by having to change some things. If you look, he built a special handle that's much smaller than the end of the barbell there. I don't know if you can see it in Kate Upton's hand there. That's because he realized that she can't hold on to the barbell when it's loaded that heavily just because of the sheer size of the end of the barbell. So he said, you know, we've got to modify this. I'm going to add a smaller handle so that she can do that. So that's his version of pruning. You might prune because you just don't have enough equipment. So if we look at this guy, he's on an air bike holding a trap bar, a U-shaped trap bar with the safety squat barbell. I think, you know, I don't think this is a joke. He's making fun of everybody. However, maybe you just don't have 3 pieces of equipment times 4 clients in your gym. So you would have to prune exercises off because you're like, hey, this exercise requires 3 pieces of equipment we don't have. That's fine. Find another way to provide cardio while using the safety squat bar. All right. But you prune because you don't have the equipment. And finally, for a lot of people, they prune because they just don't have space. And I will tell you that we have some clients that are running group fitness in 175 square feet. One of our clients, Emily Blair, down in Albuquerque, ran group classes at 175 square feet. Well, what we have to prune off, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to use barbells in that situation. There's just no room. So you got to prune off exercises that don't work for you.
Great presentation from Dr. Josh Satterlee at Axis 2021. And if you have been listening or watching to any of my thoughts over the last couple of years, I'm just so big on sports chiropractic. I don't think there's a chiropractor out there personally that does not have a sports related practice. It's just a matter of how deep they want to go. You don't have to be into professional athletics and supreme rehab expert to have people who want to stay active. As we like to say, there's an athlete in all of us, whether that's getting up and moving throughout the day, just minimal, or whether it is a professional athlete and anything in between, and people that are motivated to stay fit. I'm not going to shock anybody by saying this. They're more motivated to come in. They're more motivated with the proactive nature of what they're willing to do. And most of the time, these are people who understand the processes of what's going on. Now, people get hurt throughout time to time, whether it's trauma, whether it's overuse, whatever it might be. Of course, injuries are always going to be a part of what we can help people overcome and find relief from. But I think that all of us out there really need to think about what are those athletic activities, and I'm using that super broad, that we can communicate to our community about how we can help them improve. That was sort of a weird, awkward way to say it, but the bottom line is everybody in your practice is athletic by some nature, and focusing exclusively on the pain relief is probably not doing your patients or your practice the benefit, the ultimate benefit it could receive by focusing more upon movement. And don't think that just because you're talking about athletics that it automatically goes to super aggressive rehab and training. Again, that rabbit hole is there for those of you who want to geek out and dive into. By all means, go for it. But everything ultimately comes back to what I think of as segmental, regional, and whole body movement. Jason?
You know, I love this segment. Josh is a great guy, also phenomenal sense of humor, always fun to hang out with. But his title starts with, and just to your point, managing athletes. It was not fixing athletes. And I think that's really one of the important parts of this conversation and mindset is that, you know, many chiropractors revert back to, let's just focus on pain relief. Let's just focus on what's reimbursed by third party. Let's just limit and not overpromise anything or overclaim anything. And I just want to call it for what it is, because that's not what they're doing. And so there's just a miscommunication in that conflict that really isn't a conflict. Meaning, the journey of being an athlete, and we all have an athlete inside of us, is an ongoing journey. And, you know, we've had plenty of conversations with chiropractors who manage, you know, those in the NFL, professional athletes, and so on. And most of the smart athletes who have great careers are using these methodologies, movement as the way you described it, segmental, regional, and, you know, global, as a philosophy, as a way to, you know, exercise every day, to think about and sort of take a self-inventory of themselves, as a way to understand who they need to put together on their team to keep them performing at their best. Gone are the days of let's just wait till it's broken before we decide to fix it. And if my doctor doesn't tell me to do it, it must not be legit. That's not the world we're living in. There's plenty of resources and information. And we keep creating the current and hopefully trend for more and more chiropractors to recognize the benefits of, you said it earlier, Jeff, proactive care. This is not about over treating people, giving them more visits than they need. That's not what it's about. It's not about trying to encourage people to get care for longer than they need it for financial gain. And I say that because that's what some people perceive those ideas to be all about, and it's just not true. So if you think differently, we'd be curious to hear your feedback. We're not looking for debates or fights, but if you've got a legitimate intellectual explanation for why short-term care is better than longer-term or proactive care, the key is making sure that we communicate with people up front the truth and the consequences of their choices. Ultimately, it's always up to them. That's the goal. Always be ethical, always be honest, but that's the point. Always be ethical and always be honest. So great. Josh was great choice. And I'm looking forward to Access 2022. Everybody else should stay tuned for that as well.
I agree, Jason. I actually jotted down some of those names that Josh brought up. I'd forget about some of those guys out there. So maybe we'll make a few invitations sometime soon. And if you're listening or watching and you would love to see somebody at Access 2022, be sure to drop us a line, Jeff or Jason at thesmartchiropractor.com, or you can drop a comment down below and we will be sure to check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video on The Smart Chiropractor. To not miss a single thing that's clinically oriented, marketing oriented, or more, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel today.